The Red Web, a Necromunda fan novel, Chapter 5, The Trial. Herc groaned. He wasn't dead. Why wasn't he dead? Dark, absolutely dark. The smell of mildew and smoke. Familiar but nondescript. Cool air on his skin. Pain. Pain everywhere. His ears ringing. Though the room was almost silent, only the soft hum of distant generators and the occasional drip. His arms were cuffed, above his head. His weight was on them. He could barely breathe. His feet didn't touch the ground, but as he moved them, he felt more agony. Something was broken. A sharp pain in his chest and abdomen. Nausea. Dizziness. Dark again. He forced himself to concentrate, repeating a prayer to the Emperor to focus over and over. He was captured, that much was obvious. But by whom? Hello? He doubted it was the Goliaths. They'd started this mess. The enforcers would have been busy responding to the explosion. They couldn't have been the ones that mounted the attack, if any of them had actually survived. This had to be someone else entirely. You have been detained for the purpose of identifying the cause of your seditious behavior. Answer questions truthfully and you will be granted the Emperor's mercy. Evade or lie and you will be punished. Speak without being spoken to and you will be punished. Do you understand? The monotonous voice came from speakers on both sides of the room. Nothing to go on so far. He could be anywhere, and he couldn't even trust the voice he was hearing was not synthetic, let alone discern who the speaker was. A sudden feeling of hot pain pierced his shin. Ah! He shouted. Answer promptly, please. Do you understand? I do. He wanted to shout a question back, but the pain still radiated up his broken leg from where the needle had penetrated. That was just a demonstration. Actual punishment will be worse. The interrogation servitor is exceptionally good at maximizing pain while prolonging life. You could live longer in this chamber than you would in your rat hole breathing soot. Herc smiled, though he didn't know if his interrogator could see it. Pain was not the worst thing in life. He lived with constant pain, some small, some severe. Through the Emperor, all things are possible. He cleared his mind, breathing as deeply as he could with the broken ribs that he'd suffered. This was the moment he'd spent all those years in meditation preparing for. He would endure the pain in the Emperor's name, and in doing so purify his soul for the forever after. He was a loyal son of the Thane. He did the Emperor's work. No sinner could stand between him and his duty. You told your gang to arm themselves and strike out at the guild overseers. Herc said nothing. It wasn't a question. He held his mind focused on the verses of his prayer. Pain, this time distant. Did you order your gang to arm themselves and strike out at the guild overseers? Herc grunted and paused for a moment before saying, Would I be here if I hadn't? Pain again, this time nearer, getting hotter. He tried to hold the verse. Then, as soon as it was applied, it was gone. I warned you not to talk back. Do it again and the pain will double. This is not a game. Do you tell your gang to arm themselves and strike out at the guild overseers? Yes, I told them. And did you plant the explosives in the enforcer precinct? No, he choked out. It was the truth, but he wasn't sure if it was wise to answer. Who did? I never knew. It wasn't my part of the plan. I think you know more than you are saying. Pain again, this time worse. His arm jerked and spasmed. He gasped. It was too much. But this wasn't a lie. Even if you do not know for certain, you must have suspicions. If you are not candid with me, this will become much, much worse for you. Fine. If I had to guess, I would say it was those Delax, the Looped. They've had it out with the cops more times than I can count, and their champion Deke is the only one in these parts who knows enough about demolitions to do the job. Silence. The silence went on. It was likely hours before another sound, but Herc had no way of keeping track, fading in and out of consciousness. Who brought you into the conspiracy? Herc's mind came back into focus. He was being asked a question. Answering quickly kept the pain at bay. He went to speak, but he stopped himself. This he could not reveal. The Delac he owed nothing, and as far as he was concerned, they were just as likely his enemies as they were his allies. But the Goliaths he'd made a deal with, and he'd been sworn to secrecy. He wasn't going to break an oath as his final act. He said the prayer of the immolated martyr. Pain. He repeated the words in his mind. Pain. He took the pain and he focused it, forced it into the shape of piety. He began to grunt the words of the prayer. The pain grew worse. Before long, he was shouting them as the mechanical arms of the interrogation servitor pierced half a dozen points in his body. Suddenly, there was a pop. The pain stopped. The smell of smoke. Strange. The smell he'd last sensed after unloading a heavy flamer in Ambot's chest cavity. A door opened. Emperor, damn it, what the hell happened? A raspy shout from outside of the room. Bot's fried. Looks like the whole thing. Might be able to salvage the arms, but the wetware and hardware's burned out. Then finish the job, we don't have time. Suddenly there was a light. The goggles pulled away from his face, and Herc was at first blinded. As his eyes adjusted to the well-lit chamber, he saw the Delac ganger standing before him. We're going to have words about that, the ganger indicated towards the damaged servitor, in a moment. But first, who brought you into the conspiracy? Herc grinned. Oh, I think it was you. The Delac hit him in the face. Amateur, Herc replied, spitting in the tall man's face. The gaunt ganger pulled a blade from inside of his coat and pressed the tip into Herc's shoulder. Blinding pain. Not good. He said the prayer of the undying faithful. He said the prayer of the lost pilgrim. He tried to push the pain aside. He screamed, It was! Yes? His torturer looked on eagerly. Yes, tell me. You only have moments before the poison stops your heart. I can stop the pain. It was Caiaphas Cain, hero of the Imperium. The Delac shouted, pulling a pistol from another pouch in his coat and firing it into Herc's leg, pressing the burning hot barrel into his forehead. This is going to be a slow job, but circumstances have changed. Last chance. Answer me or make your peace. I have been at peace since the Emperor first touched my heart, Spider. Can you say the same? The Emperor? You dare speak of the Emperor? You admitted to plotting to overthrow the will of his chosen representative on this planet. You're nothing but a blasphemer and a heretic. We are all sinners, but I am in the Emperor's hands. He resumed praying, and the Delac pulled the trigger. Ringing filled Herc's ears. The bullet, however, had missed its mark despite being fired from an inch away. A miracle. And the ganger, on the peristyle ground, a gun blown to pieces by the displaced bullet, a hand a mess of blood and exposed bone. A moment later, the sound of a door being kicked in, and the roar of a flamer. Screams. Shotgun blasts. Through the open doorway of the interrogation room strode Deacon Hellfrost, one of the leaders of the Redemption and Hive Scourge. My lord, Herc wheezed. Hate gleamed in the preacher's eyes as he looked down on the wounded Delac. My child, you have strayed. Do you know you do the work of a decadent charlatan? The Delac choked out, The Emperor's chosen. The Emperor did not appoint Lord Helmar, and he would continue to guide and protect Necromunda with a new ruler, a pious ruler, one who understands sacrifice, who walks among the people, breathes their air. The future of Necromunda is bright with the flames of the Emperor. No, don't give me your sophistry, Delac. I'm assessing your guilt for kidnapping a servant of the Emperor, for disrupting the overthrow of the Guilders, fattened on the waste and loss of this hive. We do not treat such transgressions lightly. Regardless, you are found guilty, and the sentence is immolation. Rather than reaching for his hand flamer, the deacon tossed a glass globe of incendiary liquid into the Delac's chest and ignited it with his torch. As the Delac screamed, the preacher turned to Herc. You haven't given them anything of value, have you? Herc grinned. Nothing. I only admitted to what they already picked me up for. I resisted long enough. I even tried to pin the bombing on them. The deacon nodded. Then, my son, I shall give you your last rites. I believe you are well beyond what we can save. Herc said his prayers, and the roar of the flamer rung out.